Welcome to the Progress Texas Happy Hour.
Welcome back to the Progress Texas Happy Hour. I'm Executive Director Kathleen Thompson. Here at Progress Texas, we've built a statewide audience and we reach millions of Texans monthly. And that's thanks to folks like you who invest in independent, progressive media by Texans for Texans. Our thanks today to Dr. Will Judy, Doug Beaton, and Francis Ferguson for their ongoing sustaining support. We just can't do it without y'all, so thank you. The city of Dallas is about to be in the spotlight for fans of World Cup soccer around the globe, as the most watched sporting event on the planet comes to North Texas at a moment when America's international image has been severely tarnished by the actions of President Donald Trump. Dallas has a chance to show what we're really made of in this country. So we've invited 3 terrific guests to talk about this great opportunity for Dallas and for Texas to shine for the world at a moment when our country really needs it. Dr. Rick Halpern is director of the SMU Human Rights Program. Dallas author and historian Dr. Michael Phillips and Hadi Jawad is president of Human Rights Dallas. They all 3 recently published a great op-ed in the Dallas Morning News about the potential of Dallas to become a human rights city before the FIFA World Cup comes to town on June 14th. And you can also see that great article linked at progresstexas.org. All of you, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting us.
Good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
We'll start with you, Dr. Halpern. Your op-ed argues that for Dallas to truly welcome the millions, I've seen estimates of 2 to 3 million, I've seen estimates of 4 million, but to truly welcome the millions of fans expected for the World Cup, that Dallas must formally become a human rights city. So for soccer fans who may not be familiar with UN declarations, please tell us exactly what that means.
The UN published guidelines several years ago, but in general, it means that the city should advocate, protect, and defend all people's rights that are in this city, whether we live here as we do or whether they come here as visitors for the World Cup or any other reason, on all people's rights as enumerated in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The UDHR was signed on December 10th, 1948, after the horrors of World War II, just as the UN was in its formative years. And it basically states that all people, regardless of who they are, whatever their faith, whatever their ethnicity, whatever their gender, have a fundamental right to a life with dignity and rights. And the word dignity comes before the word rights. And the 5 types of rights that everybody has, and these are not in any particular order, are civil, political, cultural, economic, and social. And we want Dallas to be on written record that this city is determined to do these things, protect, advocate, and defend all people's rights in this city at all times without exception.
That makes perfect sense to me. At Progress Texas, we say on a daily basis that our voting rights shouldn't depend on your zip code. It makes perfect sense that wherever you are, you should be treated with the same dignity and respect, whether you're in a zip code, you live in the zip code, whether you're a resident, a citizen, visitor. I can understand that. Hadi, would you like to take it from here and expand on that?
Yeah, so this is a wonderful opportunity for Dallas to show itself to a world audience. The FIFA World Games is a big deal, and we all know that Dallas aspires to become a international city and to be known for the wonderful community that has built here in the last since the time I have been here in this area. I came here in 1973, and I have witnessed with my own eyes the cultural diversity of this metroplex, how it has grown, and how deeply diverse this community is in Dallas. Just at our mosque in North Dallas, 40 languages are spoken on any given Friday when people congregate for communal prayers. So this is a beautiful city. The world has come to our city, and the entire world will be watching us as these games take place. But we also know from the history of these World Cup soccer games that underneath the bright lights, underneath the shining lights and the glitter and the glamour, there's all kinds of human rights violations that take place. We have witnessed that in Doha, Qatar, the last time. We have uh, seen that in Brazil. We have seen that in other cities that these World Cup games take place. So we're mindful that the rights, the dignity of people who live in this area, particularly the homeless, for example, they seem to be they bear the brunt of sort of a cleanup operation that occurs when this sort of an international spotlight falls upon a major metropolitan area. We want to make sure that our homeless people are not going to get trampled over, that they will not be victimized or criminalized or just considered a nuisance. And we're concerned about the presence of ICE in when these games come to our area. Not much has been discussed or said. We were in some discussions with the city of Dallas and some other cities and FIFA officials, and not much concern was expressed about the presence of ICE and what implications there might be. So there are some concerns, and while at the same time we're thrilled that Dallas will be our home, our beautiful city will be the center of attention around the world.
Dr. Phillips, did you have anything else to add to what they both have said?
Well, I think there's a 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that is that the policies of this administration are working at cross purposes with what FIFA wants, which is a successful game, a set of games to be played in Dallas and elsewhere, and also the interest in having human rights respect in the city. And I think that there is, first of all, the president said basically that the Iranian team might be in danger if they appear at the games, that if they're in the United States, that they are not necessarily going to be safe. The spectacle we've seen with ICE in Minneapolis and Chicago and Los Angeles, it really, I think, is going to chase away uh, a great deal of the potential fan base. I think people are we've already seen a really serious slump in the tourist industry coming into the United
Right,
States. And
right.
particularly if ICE agents are going to be at the airports, and so an international visitor is not going to be obviously different than, a undocumented person who might be at the airport for some reason. So anyone who comes to fly in to DFW Airport could potentially face harassment right there at the airport. And they seem to go to places like that, public places like that. So I think financially, there's a risk to the games in Dallas and the Olympics later on in Los Angeles. But there's also just a real potential for human rights abuses taking place during these games by the government itself.
And you're leading right into my next question. The World Cup is often called the world's game, but it's coming at a time that international tourism is tanking due to the border policies, the surveillance, now ICE at our airports, and instances of detaining international travelers. Given the recent No Kings rallies and other indicators concerning the national climate around immigration, tell us why Dallas City Council should explicitly bar local police from assisting ICE with civil warrants before the kickoff. Dr. Phillips, would you like to go first?
Yeah, we saw Austin debate this issue, and I think that this is because ostensibly the function of ICE was to go after criminals, right? But many of the people have been rounded up and detained, have been school children, people working, their jobs, basically as groundskeepers, et cetera, et cetera.
Making leaves in Washington, D.C., handing
Right.
out water at the airport I saw.
Yeah, yeah, and suddenly they get tackled to the ground. So I think this is within the power of the Dallas Police Department to say, we're not going to help you track down. We're not going to participate in the roundup of people who aren't engaged in violent behavior, who are simply working. We will not participate. If there's a civil warrant, we're not going to share information with you on those cases. If you want to talk about a potentially threatening person, but even then, the Dallas police needs to make clear that civil liberties are going to be respected. So I think this is a proactive thing we can do that would assure people coming into Dallas that at least the local government is not going to participate in the trampling of human rights like we've seen immigration and customs enforcement do.
Would you like to expand on that, Hadi?
Yeah, so the whole notion of having these games is to bring the best of human beings together to enjoy a sports spectacle. We have things like friendly competition between nations. This is supposed to be a feel good event that brings nations together. So, this whole idea of adding so much fear and trepidation to a situation like this, to me, is counterintuitive. Why are we doing things that will make people feel afraid or uncomfortable or scared for their safety and security? Police has no place working with ICE in this situation. I am particularly happy. I've met with the chief. Um, uh, I'm forgetting his name. The new chief we have in Dallas, and he has expressed publicly his opposition to getting the police involved in ICE activities, and we hope that they will continue. And when we hope that FIFA itself, FIFA officials themselves, will make sure they need to be more proactive and more involved in making sure that these games are held in an atmosphere that is devoid of fear and being fearful and scared all the time. Police needs to stay away, and ICE needs to stay away. Other than normal law enforcement traffic situations, there's no need for police activities in this arena.
Dr. Halpern?
I'd only add that we see it every time we see a police vehicle. The motto of the police is to protect and to serve. And people are not supposed to be arrested, detained, or worse upon detention, beaten, what have you, merely because of who they are or who they allegedly are. This gets to the fundamental basis of human dignity. Police should not be in the function of trying to fulfill governmental policies merely and especially when these policies are violative of human dignity because the government professes to not like certain groups of people, either because of their faith, where they're from, or the different form of culture and language that they represent. So I support the words of my colleagues. Police should do the functions of police to help keep all citizens safe and to serve the community. And we are not served well when government functions of rounding up people and abusing them because they come from a certain country when these policies are upheld. It's outrageous.
And
We
you go
I
ahead.
was yeah, I was just going to say we have a complicating issue also regarding local police. We've seen ICE do this already, with the Supreme Court, has issued what's now called a Kavanaugh stop rule, that basically you can racially profile
Right.
people if they're speaking with an accent, if they're speaking another language, which is absolutely directly in violation of the Universal Declarations of Human Rights, and also puts everyone at risk, because I imagine police are going to be at heightened alert, particularly with the Iran war. They're going to be worried about a terrorist attack. And so, what is the criteria by which they're going to suspect someone of possibly being here undocumented, or possibly being engaged in terrorist activities? It really does exponentially increase the risk of racial profiling, and I'm very alarmed about that. And one thing Rick and Hadi and I have discussed is we think it would be great if we built human rights training based on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights into police academies and also into the Dallas Police. That Dallas Police should be required to be trained on these concepts. And one of the things in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is the right of mobility, the right of travel, the right to seek asylum. All these things are fundamental parts of the Universal Declaration.
That's also my next question because Michael, you're a student of history, you're a professor of history, and you're the historian here. With your op-ed, you pointed to cities like Nuremberg and Rosario, both of which are places with dark histories of dictatorship and state violence, as models to learn from here in Dallas, considering the troubled history of the South and what's happened in Minneapolis. Tell us a little bit more about that local training for police, but also judges, to ensure that we don't repeat poisoned history.
Well, I think that every layer of government needs to engage in this. I mean, people have a right to basically access to food, access to clean environment. So, city zoning commission, the city council, all these layers of government need to really study human rights and see what other cities done. You mentioned Nuremberg, of course, was the scene of the Nazi party rallies. When Hitler came to power, every year there was a massive rally there. And it was very intentional when they held the war crimes trials that they held it there. It was to make a statement.
Right.
Rosario, in Argentina, that was a place where they had torture facilities during the military dictatorship. Jackson, Mississippi, which has had its own issue of violence, African American students murdered during civil rights demonstrations there. So these cities have had education programs. They've taught their elementary school kids, high school students. They have programs. Rick Halperin, luckily, he runs a human rights program at SMU, which is one of the first in the world. And we need to see that all the higher education facilities have similar programs. I think the populace itself needs to learn about what's lost when human rights are trampled. I think there's a tendency to think that this is only going to affect outsiders, marginal people. It's not going to affect me. But the liberties of everyone deteriorate when one group becomes a scapegoat, then there's another group, and it's always inevitable that the list of targets increases with time. So I think that starting K through grad school, we need a comprehensive human rights curriculum.
That really is at the center of all of this. There are 8 billion people walking around this planet as we are doing this broadcast.
Right.
And I would dare say that the majority of people are uneducated about human rights. They can't even tell you what their own rights are, much less what the rights are of everybody else. This is a subject that needs to be taught in schools the way other subjects are. It's no different than learning any other subject, whatever that is. Sciences, mathematics, languages, history, psychology, whatever. The UN says there's 195 countries in this world, and the only countries which mandate human rights education being taught, and this is probably not a surprise, are the Scandinavian countries of Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Iceland. That's it. So this is a global problem. It's not just a US problem. This is a global problem of young people around the world not being educated about what their rights, what everybody's rights are. This needs to be taught, as Michael said. You don't need graphic descriptions of horrific behavior for young children, but young children can understand bullying and discrimination and being picked on. You don't need the graphics, but as we get older, we need to face our past. All countries have had human rights problems because all people throughout history have been imperfect. This is a great country in many, many ways, but it has had and continues to have human rights difficulties. And turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to our past only makes it worse. The young people that I'm seeing in my classes, sooner or later, they're going to be the leaders of this state, this city, this world. And we are doing them a disservice nationally when we don't talk about the difficulties this country has had and is having. We have to help them face the past with accuracy. This isn't a Democratic or a Republican issue or a problem. It's a human problem. It's not a left or right wing issue. It's a human issue, and we have to face issues that this city, this state, this country, this world not only were engaged in, but still are engaged in. Ethnic cleansing, rape and war, genocide. We've all heard the phrase, never again. It was supposed to have meant something.
Right.
But obviously, the UN and the world has failed. It's still in our lifetimes. So these young people are going to be running this world, and it is incumbent on them to help produce a world without these difficulties. And the only way we can get to that point is if we educate about it so they can stop saying, I didn't know. We have to face the past in all of its beauty and all of its pain and serve our young people better than we have been.
We also think that outside of schools and colleges, academic environments, human rights education must be offered to city officials. We have offered the Dallas Police Department on at least 2 or 3 occasions with previous police of chief in the office an opportunity to learn about human rights from Dr. Halpern, who happens to be a internationally recognized authority on human rights. And we are fortunate that we have the SMU Human Rights Program here in Dallas, one of only 9 in the country. When it was formed, it was only one of 5 in the country. So we are very fortunate we have this facility right here in Dallas. And again, Dallas wants to become a internationally recognized city. We think the key to that is to become a human rights city. Tell the world, and this was a perfect opportunity with the FIFA World Cup games. Tell the world that we are a city that has moved far from its sordid past, and we have grown up. We have come to recognize the value of human dignity and human rights, and we are making strides towards that goal.
And this is a question for anybody. How have you been received? You talked about meeting with the city council or offering to the city council, meeting with the new Dallas police chief. What has the response been?
The response has been overwhelmingly positive and favorable. And I think in part it's because we are approaching this, as we said right at the very beginning, this is a dignity issue. We are not coming at this from any political ideology. I think all people, or certainly most people, can understand the idea that all people have or should be entitled to human dignity. That's what this is all about, is to recognize the inherent worthiness of people merely because they are people, and to get beyond putting a label on them, whatever that label is, gay, straight, male, female, bi, whatever. The goal is to see people as people and to uphold Article 1 of the UDHR, that they are fundamentally entitled to a life with dignity. So our response has been met very favorably. We're very fortunate in Dallas. Dallas has a human rights officer. Not most cities do. Christopher Graves is the officer here in Dallas. He's been very receptive and a very strong partner. We've worked with him and folks at City Hall. We have worked, as Hadi said, we are working with the Dallas law enforcement for sure. We are working with educators, with faith communities. We're working with everybody in the community, business leaders. This affects everybody, regardless of what we do in our professional lives, because all people have dignity. So we have been fortunate. I'm not surprised that this has been a positive reception, because I think we harp on the essential message of human dignity.
If I could,
Yes, please.
I just want to say, I think one of the things that's coming across is the essence of education, and in pushing for this, I hope what we do is we mobilize public opinion, and we heighten consciousness of why it's so toxic and pernicious what the state legislature in Texas is doing with the teaching, for instance, my discipline, history, where they're basically they're telling teachers, don't make any students upset, don't cover any material that might make a kid feel guilty because their ancestors owned slaves or whatever. You cannot address human rights abuses today or understand how they happened, nor can you understand how to prevent future human rights abuses if you're denied that knowledge. I personally believe that an honest, quality education is a human right. And I believe that that's under assault right now. And I believe that educators are under absurd pressures, and they have been bullied into silence on these issues that are so important. I mean, just on a practical level, we want these games to go well. And if we have racial profiling, if we have Islamophobia poisoning the event, if we have police physical abuse of people who are being profiled, that doesn't serve the city of Dallas economically, but it's also a human tragedy. And if we educate people about what happens in that kind of environment, we can make the city more livable, economically more vibrant, more welcoming to the world. We want international investment, but that involves not just the money, but the people too. And so I think I'm hoping that people have a real honest discussion while we talk about the need to teach about human rights, that we talk about the need to be able to teach in a classroom honest history that confronts our past demons, and we teach about how the Holocaust happens, but we also teach about how slavery happened in the United States, even if it makes people uncomfortable. I don't believe there's a fundamental right to never be uncomfortable. I think that's part of that education that never makes you uncomfortable is not quality education. We owe our students the truth.
Absolutely. And speaking about Islamophobia poisoning the event, we can't close out our conversation without this next question. And I'm going to direct it to Hadi first. Our listeners know that we've been covering and tracking a conspicuous rise in anti-Muslim rhetoric coming from Republican elected officials, from President Donald Trump to Governor Greg Abbott to GOP Senate candidates to Texas Railroad Commission candidates on down to the local level. Would you speak about that rise at the same time as the World Cup with many Arab and Muslim countries attending and participating?
Well, I fervently hope that the games are a positive impact on Dallas and our image in the world. Having said that, I have my own concerns. The recent vitriol, the rhetoric that came from top Texas Republican politicians, was just disgusting and pathetic. I have been living here in Texas since 1972. That's 54 years. I was a teenager when I got here. I'm appalled. I'm disgusted with the way these folks are speaking about a a minority Muslim population. We constitute maybe 1 to 2% of the population, and they're saying things like that the Muslims are going to take over the state, Islamify Texas. One of the candidates for the AG Aaron Wright spoke about Muslims residing here in Texas as if they were insects, that they will make living conditions so abhorrent, so difficult for Muslims living in Texas, so difficult that they will crawl out of the state. This is just nonsensical. This needs to stop, like right now. It is beneath their own dignity to be speaking in these terms. Texas has many problems that need to be addressed. Muslims residing in Texas who are contributing in so many ways. We are doctors, lawyers, educators, nurses. We are part of the fabric of society here in Texas. Are not the problem. We have problems like childhood poverty. We remind them all the time. Dallas leads the nation in childhood poverty. It comes as a surprise to everybody who hears it, and it shocked me when I first heard about it. Why is Dallas leading the country in childhood poverty? We have a problem with black women going to hospitals during maternity. The maternal deaths are among the highest in the nation. So instead of focusing on real issues, real problems that need to be solved, they want to demonize and dehumanize an innocent civilian population that is making tremendous contributions to making Texas a vibrant place for everybody.
Thank you for speaking to that. We're getting close to our time, and I've really enjoyed our conversation and learning more beyond the excellent op-ed. Would you like to say anything that we haven't mentioned yet, or something we haven't covered before we close out? Go ahead, Dr. Halpern.
I'd like to at least mention a book. It's called America for Americans, the history of xenophobia in the United States. The author is a woman by the name of Erica, but she spells her name Erika, Erica Lee. And it gives a disturbing look at this country, which has always targeted some group, whether it be people from Japan, people from China, the Chinese Exclusion Act, people from Mexico, now people from the Muslim world. This is not anything new. It's a sad history and a sad constant part of our history. I think people should at least be aware of this book. And the last thing I would like to say is to urge people to become familiar, if they are not already, with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You can't demand your rights if you don't even know what they are. So look at the UDHR, download a copy, learn your rights, and urge our elected officials to be better. We are a great country, and we need to get to a point of respect and dignity of the diversity that makes this country so great. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Phillips.
I would just say that I live within a short driving distance of a couple of mosques, including the East Plano Islamic Center, which has been the center of a lot of demagoguery lately politically. You know that this could be a center of Sharia law, and they're going to take over the country. And my wife Betsy Freoff and I just wrote a book about the history of eugenics in Texas, and I just want to advise people that 100 years ago, what is being said about Muslims today was being said about Catholics and it was said about Jewish immigrants, that they're not going to be able to assimilate, that they plan to take over the country. The Catholics are going to hand control the country over to the Pope and so on. And it's amazing that these stereotypes get recycled and aimed at different groups. Each successive wave of immigrants has to go through this crucible, and it'd be nice if we could stop that trend. And so we've been through this before, and we saw how that moved politics to the right 100 years ago. I hope that we can interrupt this sooner this time.
And Michael, say the name of your book. You're in Betsy's book. Say the name of it.
Okay, it's called The Purifying Knife: The Troubling History of Eugenics in Texas.
Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Dr. Rick Halperin, Director of the SMU Human Rights Program, Hadi Jawad, President of Human Rights Dallas author and historian Michael Phillips. Thank you all for your terrific work on this project, and thank you for spending some time with us today to share with our listeners in Dallas and across the state.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
Our mission at Progress Texas is to improve and save Texans' lives by acting on our shared, bold, progressive values. And that starts with countering the billionaire and corporate-funded conservative disinformation machine. Progress Texas is an independent, nonprofit, rapid response media organization. And while campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. Please learn about what we do and how you can support our ongoing work at progresstexas.org. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for listening. Bye.